The bad news keeps piling up for Chinese timber firm Sino-Forest. Moody's cut the company's rating to Caa1 this morning, which means that there's a substantial risk. S&P went further, cutting Sino-Forest to CCC- and then withdrawing the rating altogether. Yesterday, the company's CEO quit. Short seller Carson Block is the one who started this all. In June, he wrote a scathing report calling Sino-Forest a fraud. He joins us now by Skype from Sao Paulo. Carson, thanks so much for joining us. I guess Sino-Forest really is the one who started this all, right? Because they have the issues of which you accuse them. Why don't you just draw those out for us, for those who are new to this story?
Sure. Well, this company actually went public over 16 years ago in Canada by reverse merger, and it just kind of grew to be a multi-billion-dollar market cap company during a time when people were not really aware of the potential issues that you have with these Chinese companies. So when we happened upon it, it had $2 billion in debt, $5 billion market cap, and it's a near total fraud. So they had been overstating their timber holdings and timber sales since inception. So we were able to prove it. We published a 40-page report with another 40 pages or so of appendices. And the company, in response to that report, the independent directors set up their own committee to investigate our conclusions. And that committee has largely worked in silence, but they seem to have muzzled the management since our report came out in early June. So we haven't heard much from the company until this surprise order from the Ontario Securities Commission on Friday. So
you're saying they overstated the value of the land they have where their trees are, and they overstated their revenue. I mean, how do they refute those claims?
Well, I mean, initially, of course, Alan Chan, the person who just resigned after telling investors that he personally guarantees that all financial statements are accurate, and he personally guarantees that the company is not engaged in any undisclosed related party transactions. They vehemently denied our allegations, and they said that, we're short sellers and, we're lying, et cetera. So it's actually pretty standard playbook for these companies that are accused of fraud by short sellers such as ourselves.
Although this company had some pretty famous long investors, right? I mean, John Paulson and Chris Davis, two really big names here in New York, indeed around the world, were holding huge amounts of the company's stock. So those two, I'm guessing, have defected and are gone. Are there any big long investors left?
Well, there were recently, when I say recently, I mean the past 6 to 8 weeks, Wellington Management took a large long position, and also Mandolin Fund, which is owned by billionaire Robert Chandler. So these two investors took large positions, and unfortunately, that encouraged some investors to jump into the stock. So the price of the stock was bid up at one point close to $8 a share, largely just on the back of these funds taking their stakes. I don't know whether Chandler is famous for his activism shareholder or his activist shareholder policies. So I don't know whether he was expecting to try to affect change at the company or not. And this is, in accordance with his plan. It's an interesting question.
But you have to be happy when more long investors buy the stock, because it gives you more action on the short side, right?
Well, I mean, look, when we put out these reports, we're doing it in large part because we want to see these frauds erased. Everybody who is part of Muddy Waters, this is somewhat of a personal crusade for us, particularly because we've done business in China. Most of us are entrepreneurs in China, and we've dealt with these people who think that the rules don't apply to them. So from our perspective, it's great that we found a way to make a living while exposing these frauds and protecting investors from them. So we actually weren't happy to see the stock bounce up and more investors pile in. It runs contrary to what our goals are.
Got it. Well, I'm sure there's a lot more that came from. So Carson, thanks very much. Carson Block there, founder of Muddy Waters Research, coming to us from Brazil via Skype.